Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for a little something different today. We are doing a cross-channel challenge today. You might recognize the name Edison. Edison has supported my channel as well as Brian, aka BOSHNROLL's channel, quite generously over the last few weeks or months. And Edison came up with a unique challenge. Today, I have sent Brian the most ThrabenU deck ever. And Brian has sent me the most BOSHNROLL deck ever. And we are going to see who built the better deck. So this is a bounty challenge that is not based on how well the player plays, but is based on how well the deck builder built. So, over on the BOSHNROLL channel today, which I will link down in the video description, you will get to see Brian play my baby, Lumra Living Wish Lands. And we'll see if the blue mage who is used to cantrips and selection can navigate their way well through my pile of 2-drop card advantage and repeated land drops. And now, let's take a look at what Brian sent my way. So Brian sent me a tuned up version of a Jace Reawakened control deck list. So for the D&T stands out there who have been following my content for a long time, you probably remember playing with Serra Avenger, a card that couldn't be played on its first, second, or third turn, but had really good stats and was pretty cool if you cheated it in with an Aether Vial. Jace Reawakened has similar text. Now, the +1 draw a card, discard a card is perhaps not all that exciting. It is the second +1 that we're interested in this deck. You may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted, which means on a future turn at sorcery speed, you can cast that spell. So you're not plotting counter spells, you're plotting things that you would like to cast for free. And if you start casting Tetheries and Snapcaster Mages and other very good value-oriented cards like Baleful Strix, you can do some really cool stuff. But See the Truth is a big winner here. So normally this card reads, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. But if this spell was cast from anywhere other than your hand, say with a Snapcaster Mage or because it was plotted, put each of those cards into your hand instead. And if you have a 2-mana card that regularly draws 3, this is incredibly powerful. So while our deck might durdle a little bit and be closed to close out games, there should be a lot of inevitability here, especially with the singleton copy of Valki, God of Lies. Now, the rules surrounding MDFCs have changed a lot. But with the plot, we should be able to cast Tibalt Cosmic Imposter from exile for free with plot. And if you haven't been on the wrong side of Tibalt before, it is scary. So you get an emblem that lets you play cards exiled with Tibalt, and you can spend mana as if it was mana of any color. So it can be a 7 loyalty planeswalker immediately, which is enough to live through most reasonable attackers in Legacy. And it has a minus mode where you just get to exile and nuke your opponent's best threat. So this is a card that is very powerful. Thankfully, we're not seeing very much turn 1 or turn 2 Tibalt anymore. But if you cheat this into play, it's still going to be strong. This is basically a blue-white control deck. The Esper elements are relatively light. It is just 5 cards. The Thoughtseizes here are helping us against our very combo-heavy metagame. And then the sideboard is just solid. It's just full of bangers with a little bit of an emphasis on varied pieces of graveyard hate. So there's a $100 bounty on the line for the better deck builder today. I'm going to play this the best that I can. I'm not the best cantrip mage, but I think this deck is very, very strong. So we'll see who walks away with $100. And please check out Brian's half of the matches. Lumra Living Wish Lands is always good. And should you need your copies of Jace Reawakened, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Last time I checked, TOA had about 100,000 different Magic cards in stock. Seems good, so if you need something, they probably have it. You get free shipping on your order, and you can even expedite that shipping if you've got a major event coming up and you need your cards now. If you're an Eternal Magic player, they also have some really good high-end, graded, old school stuff, especially at their in-person events. All right, let's battle. All right, I'm starting off with a weird one here because I don't have a basic island unless you squint at the hand funny. So this hand can turn to See the Truth or turn to ThrabenU. If I keep this and I get a basic island, I'm not casting things like Teferi and Swords to Plowshares. I have a Force of Will to stop something broken that happens. But the ThrabenU is way better on turn 1. I don't think I like this hand. The counterspell would be like the Force of Will pitch because the double blue pips are rough here. I will just need more mana beyond for the Teferi. I think we can just do better. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, this is great. We'll just keep this and pitch 1 Snapcaster Mage. My opponent will immediately do some like Goblin Charbelcher shit on turn 1 that makes me want to have the Force of Will. Nope, it's just Scalding Tarn and pass, that's fine. So there's Wasteland to think about, but there's also Brainstorm Fetch to think about, and I think I want to Brainstorm Fetch on turn 2 to flip this ThrabenU, I think. So I think I will lead on Tundra here. There's also an alternative timeline where you just ponder on turn 1 and then play ThrabenU, hold up Brainstorm, so that you can immediately flip ThrabenU to be better against Lightning Bolt and Fatal Push style cards. And this is where I just don't have the most reps with this style of deck to know exactly which one of these lines is most important to be taking. But that's what you should watch Brian's content for, honestly. All right, there's the fetch to clear that Brainstorm. Clearly in blue-black, and a Thoughtseize. The opponent takes the Brainstorm, preventing me from doing the whole ThrabenU flip thing immediately, which honestly is fair. I think Swords to Plowshares is likely to be a good draw, but, we could be facing down something like Doomsday. We'll get our clue. I think I will ponder here. That is a Wasteland. I don't think I mind the Wasteland. I think I am okay drawing 2 of these lands. And this is why I did not make my land drop prior to casting that Ponder. So this can potentially keep my opponent off of Bowmasters, it can potentially keep them off of Goyf or Doomsday or something like that, and every turn I am accruing more card advantage for the future with this ThrabenU, and if I get more lands, I just do Snapcaster things. If this is Murktide, I just have that covered with Swords to Plowshares, so that's fine unless there's a Force of Will backing it up, which there could be. But if that happens, we just have Snapcaster Swords as a follow-up. I'm going to give myself the option to fetch and clear the land on top. This is great. I like it when my blue-black opponents... I'm just going to yield to this. Don't just always have the Force of Will to back up their reanimated card or their tempo-oriented card. The opponent's got 2 mana, empty graveyard. Aww. My Snapcaster Mage. Yeah. Alright, so now I definitely don't want that land that's on top. So we will fetch and Surveil. Surveil obviously having good potential with... Oh, nice. Future Snapcaster Mages. So the next question is, do I just jam Teferi into Daze? On 4 mana, I have some good things to do, like Double Crack Clue. See the Truth doesn't necessarily draw the card. I think I'm less concerned about trading with Daze if I just have 4-ish more cards queued up. But I could just as easily see just casting See the Truth there. Let's tap my mana properly. I think this is high upside if it resolves and low downside if it does not resolve. That just results in my opponent not necessarily having 3 mana for this turn. And the less mana they have, the less of a chance they have of just doing something broken. That's Entomb, which is probably bad for me. And that is a Reanimate, which is definitely bad for me. So there's no Force of Will backing this up right now. So assuming that I can see the truth or crack clue tokens into another Swords to Plowshares type effect, this is quite powerful. All right, so we've got Ponder, Animate Dead, Scalding Tarn, not Reanimate, Brazen Borrower, Ponder, Scalding Tarn, Animate Dead, which instant? Tomb. Got it. It is unclear to me whether or not I actually want to cast Brainstorm and transform this. It saves my life total, but it means that my opponent can just attack and kill this. I think I am going to start with See the Truth and dig 3 that way. All right, Snapcaster Mage is an answer to Atraxa next turn, so I guess I will take that. How do I feel about just using Tameo as gain 7 life? Pretty good. I think it's fine. Oh, Strix is not bad. We'll just go bam and bam, and then plus this Planeswalker. My issue here is that Entomb plus Animate Dead also just represents an Archon of Cruelty as a secondary thing that I have to answer. And that's not great for me. How am I navigating that? Fuck. This was avoidable. This was avoidable. Yeah, so next turn, my opponent can Entomb Animate Dead to get rid of my Baleful Strix blocker. Or if they have Reanimate as well. Fuck. That's rough. So I could have left Snapcaster Mage as my top card to get rid of Archon of Cruelty, and then I am just getting pounded by Atraxa instead. Not great. Jace Reawakened is not good when I am behind on board like this. Let's shuffle. That's a Force of Will. Guess I can draw, see if I hit a land that I can play. Or no, I'm just going to die, right? 9 plus 6. I mean, not technically dead, but effectively dead, I think. Okay, I had a little bit of room to play that game differently. Loss might be my fault there. About 3 turns ago, I did have the opportunity to keep a Force of Will in hand, and that potentially could have stopped the first set of Entombs. I might have been working on progressing my own game too much rather than trying to just make sure I made it to the late game where my superior card advantage and selection is going to take over the game. All right, let's get my Graveyard Hate in here. Think about that one. So with the sideboards of this deck, I need to be respecting a pile of dudes in addition to just the A plus B reanimation combo. Because there could be some number of Goyfs or Douthie Voidwalkers or Orcish Bowmasters in addition to game-ending things, Murktide Regents, all that sort of stuff. I like my Swords to Plowshares quite a bit. My Prismatic Endings are going to miss some stuff. I might end up trimming those. I can probably go down a little bit of late game in some capacity. Snapcaster Swords to Plowshares. Snapcaster See the Truth seems important. Jace Reawakened, maybe I could trim. Looking at my opponent's hand with Thoughtseize is fine. Baleful Strix is fine. It's not the best versus Archon, but it's fine versus Atraxa. Could go down the Valky. Let's see. And as a reasonable mix of lands and spells, I think I am down with keeping this. I have a lot of options for what to do on turn 1. I think I'm just going to play Underground Sea and Lorien Revealed Land Cycle for a Tundra. I think I'm going to save this fetch land for a little while so that it can be a shuffle with a Brainstorm. I think I would like to hide some of these cards here. So let's Brainstorm. I think I'm going to hide Swords and Surgical. My opponent can take one of these cards. Take my Thoughtseize. I'm not going to cast See the Truth yet. I don't know what I am digging for. I am probably going to draw the Swords to Plowshares that is currently on top of my library. I could cast See. Alright. Finishing that thought. I could have played Tundra and cast See the Truth, which my opponent is taking. Oh, okay. Well, you got it, bud. See the Truth to pick up the Swords to Plowshares that was on top of my deck, which I believe I am okay with drawing. This Lorien Revealed is starting to look like something that I might just hardcast this game. Opponent has had 3 Thought Seizes. Yeah, no, this is not unexpected. So let's get this out of the way. And then I am okay with grabbing a Surveil land here. I don't hate drawing an extra land because, like, I am working towards Lorien Revealed, but I'd rather just find a reasonable spell here. Illusion of Choice. Pass turn. Did my opponent see Flooded Strand already? If so, that was an objective mistake because this is an unknown card and this is a known card. So I just like let my opponent know, like, hey, coast is clear. I did not draw a counterspell. All right, on we go. Given that I just drew another land, I don't think I'm going to play Lorien Revealed into Daze. My opponent has used 3 Thought Seizes already, so the Lorien Revealed in my hand is likely safe. There's a Brainstorm. A fetch land to clear it at my opponent's convenience. That is a lot of land. All right, well, here we go. I guess we can get some basics in case that matters. Fetch. Yeah. The next basic shouldn't matter. Attempt to draw 3 into Orcish Bowmasters. All right, Force of Will and Daze. So I'm glad that I played around that Daze. Opponent and I are both very low on resources. That is something that should be greatly, greatly favoring me. The Douthie Voidwalker is fine. We can take plenty of hits for that. From that. Fuck, come on, deck. My land count is not that high, right? Like, I am a cantrip deck. Okay, 19 is honestly pretty high. Not the 30 mana sources that I'm used to playing with, but it's pretty high for a blue deck. 14. There's another Brainstorm from my opponent. Well, shit. Do I have a Mystic Sanctuary? I do not have a Mystic Sanctuary. All right. Well, this is obviously bad. So now my opponent has Force of Will backup for an Atraxa. Until this turn, I felt like this game was going exactly the way that I wanted it to go. Like, we are reaching we are both top decking, but I have, like, Snapcasters and see the truths and stuff that they don't. All right. Yeah, no, that was really good. It has Murktide Regent as well here. I think I'm likely dead. Like, I am just dead in 2 turns here. And this is going to get Force of Willed. So, you know. Yep. So that's Force of Will, pitching Ponder. I take 10. Puts me to 4. My opponent is healthy again. And is going to have a Murktide Regent. Oh, it's a Harbinger of the Seas. No real point in fetching. That's fine. I don't have a Supreme Verdict, Toxic Deluge type. Okay, alright. I understand. Fate wanted me to lose this round. I think I had a lot of agency in game 1 to lead to different paths. I think I played game 2 pretty well here, and the cards did not line up, and that's okay. GG's.
Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to host your online deck lists, and I don't think it's close. I think it's wonderfully organized, and you can have a great system of folders so that you can go through, separate your decks by whatever you want. I separate mine by format. I have just a few legacy decks, and Moxfield is able to keep track of all the decks that even someone like me makes. So please consider checking them out.
Okay, we've got a pretty good anti-combo hand here with double Thoughtseize and Force of Will. Misty Rainforest, and pass the turn. In the absence of information here, could try to go on basics this game. Like, I have 3 lands, which can represent 3 basic lands. You can get island and basic plains here. Yeah, this is fine. I take a Nadu here. I take a Nadu next turn. And then my opponent's got a hot lot of nothing going on. I, at some point in the future, will probably want to shuffle away the Force of Will for more 1-for-1 trades rather than 2-for-1 trades. All right, there's the Misty. Yeah, hey, a basic island. I will just play that this turn. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Dismiss those. The opponent chooses not to Force of Will. I will take their Nadu and then pass. So they have 2 dead-ish cards. Emphasis on Ish. Opponent junks Shuko. It's not really good yet. And opponent is missing land drops. And when I said dead-ish earlier, this is what I meant. So I can trade with a Swords to Plowshares or Prismatic Ending if I want. I might just brainstorm away the Tamiyo, though. Or I get cute. I could get cute. Play Tamiyo, opponent swords it, I brainstorm in response. Not perfect because of like how the lands are lining up, but it sure is cute. There's swords. I'll fetch. I'll grab a Tundra. I will brainstorm in response. These cards aren't bad. I think I'm gonna bury the See the Truth, and I'll just put Flooded Strand on top and redraw that. So now I can also eat this Prismatic Ending. I don't think I fight over this card. I think I just let that go. Now I just kind of feel pretty safe. I will just ponder here. I'm fine redrawing the See the Truth. I think I'm just going to hold up actual factual counterspell and pass the turn here. I don't think I have to get Snapcaster Mage into play immediately. Then I can either fetch to counterspell or fetch to surveil. Let's fetch to surveil with Meticulous Archive. Brainstorm's kind of whatever. I'm just going to take another draw. Lorien Revealed. I am unsure if that is a land or a spell as of right now. Swords? Swords is fine. With my opponent's Daze and Force of Will there, I think this is a land. Up Underground Sea, play this and pass. I can start thinking about like Snapcaster Thoughtseize, Snapcaster See the Truth. I'm just not sure that I want to tap a whole bunch of my mana here. I think I'm okay tapping a little bit of my mana, but I don't know that I want to attempt a 4-mana tap-out play right now. I can Snapcaster Brainstorm to flip this Tamiyo if I need to. I don't even know that it makes sense to do it, though. I just kind of feel very safe right now. I think this longer game is favoring me because I just get to keep doing things that look like this, and eventually I will bring them back. I'll put a Strix into my hand. And then I think I'm just not going to drop Counterspell here. Again, I just try to chill. Memory's Journey, putting Nadu's back into deck. You got it. That is very much not the way that this card is usually used in Legacy. This is probably a good counterspell. Like, I know half of the cards in my opponent's hand. Alright, so we got the Force of Will and the Daze there. You may now have your Brainstorm. Now that the known Force of Will is gone, this is where I can probably make a play for Snapcaster See the Truth as a draw 3. And I have Baleful Strix to pitch the Force of Will if I feel like I need to do that. Opponent is passing the turn. Ooh, there's Valky. That only hits a creature, which may or may not be relevant. I think we're just going in here. Snapcaster, See the Truth. Oh? Oh, right, there's fucking the Memory's Journey. Shit. I fucked up. I think this is how I am dealing with my fuck up. Well, okay. So I am going to cast this and see if my opponent's last card is a creature. It is a Brainstorm. So now we are both resource light. I have 4 power worth of attackers in play. I have a way to answer a Nadu. But I'm not happy with my mistake here. Urza Saga, very good for my opponent. That's the sort of thing that can end up blanking these attackers. Hold this land. It might be Brainstorm fodder. One's got a land of their own. I don't really want to Swords to Plowshares and Urza Saga token right now. Start looking for some more truth, eh? I mean, yeah. So I will just Snapcaster See the Truth again. Yeah. Make that extra land drop. Now this is a draw 3. Okay, I have a blue card. That's fantastic. I think I am willing to trade with Urza Saga token if my opponent wants to trade with that. I'm now covered versus my opponent top decking a Nadu or equivalent creature. All right, so it looks like we are trading. Ooh. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. If my opponent waits, this becomes a 3/3 that just naturally blanks Snapcaster Mages. Sure. Okay, yeah. So they go to 8. My opponent makes a 2/2, which then becomes a 3/3, and then one of them can become a 4/3. Imagine my opponent's just going to sit back here. I am incorrect. I don't think I'm doing anything with the Jace Reawakened immediately. I'm going to Prismatic Ending a construct token. I think I don't even swords that. Not immediately, anyway. I will just crash in for 4 and then hold up Hardcast Force of Will and Swords to Plowshares. That's good enough for a concession from my opponent. And here we see the, like, raw power of just having that 4x Snapcaster Mage see the truth endgame. Like, I made an egregious error, and I was able to recover from it because I just got too ancestral. What about Wrath of the Skies? What about Wrath of the Skies? Wrath of the Skies can clear out a lot of stuff. Harbinger of the Seas can mess with Urza's Saga. Null Rod and Pithing Needle can mess with my opponent's combo. I don't think I'm going to like Surgical or Fairy or Force of Negation. So these are the things that I'm thinking about. So in thinking about blue decks, a lot of times you are either a Force of Will deck or a Swords to Plowshares deck in post-sideboard games. It's kind of feeling like I need to be both here, because my opponent can represent a turn 2 Goldfish, but also can play a long, grindy attrition game. So I'm not sure where that leaves me in terms of sideboarding. Jace Reawakened giving me free castings of, like, See the Truth style cards seems good. Valky can randomly snipe a Nadu. That card seems reasonable. Most of the cards that I'm playing seem reasonable. I like this maybe over one of those and just clear out an entire Urza Saga at once. Pretty big deal. That might be all I do. I'm thinking about Harbinger of the Seas, just to become slightly better versus Urza Saga. Like, maybe I do that? I could cut the Valky and give up trying to, like, snipe Nadu, specifically, when I'm on the draw. Just be better as I go into that late game. Please do not take my sideboarding with blue decks as gospel. I feel very awkward about these Wasteland Lorien revealed hands. I have decent resources. I'm going to be missing a color in the short term. I have multiple Swords to Plowshares, which is great. I have a Force of Will, which is great. I'm going to hope that this game goes long enough that I don't regret keeping this one. Undra and Ponder. That's great. We did not want to see something like a Delighted Halfling that I could not just, like, remove on turn 1. Ponder does not shuffle. That's probably fine to just do. Daze exists. Okay, so my opponent's got a Force of Will. That's not that big of a deal. They have half a combo. I have multiple Swords to Plowshares. I might just slow them down the most by taking that Brainstorm, I think is what I'm going to do. There's the Nomads, and there's the Archive. My opponent likes their card. My phone is blowing up. One moment. Oh, it's fine. It's just the D&D group chat. So I will Island Cycle. I will pick up a Tundra. I will play a Tundra. I think I am fine firing this off immediately. Opponent can force if they want. I will not fight back if they do. And they do not. A new Brainstorm. That's very, very good here. Oh shit. Just tapping out. I don't know how bad those cards were that they just looked at, but my hand was not great here, but my opponent probably just Brainstorm locked themselves while not being able to do anything proactive for the next 2 or 3 turn cycles. And if that happens versus this dirtily control deck like mine, like, we're very much going to win the game. So it's an early concession, but I think an understandable one. GG's. Okay, opening hand seems fine. Got a Force of Will to get us out of the early game. Lead on basic planes? Question mark, question mark, question mark? It's not like I can play this early anyway. Anyway, excuse me. We've got Force of Will to get us out of the early game. We have Jace Reawakened for the late game. See the Truth to kind of bridge the gap in between. Lorien Revealed is almost certainly just going to be a land, not a spell. Your Ponder is fine. Now this is that moment where I recognize the name Joel. This is show and tell reanimator person, but they were on something spicy and different last time, and I don't remember what it is. Regardless, I don't think I need basic lands here. I have white. I probably don't need white. I probably also don't need black. Pick up a Tundra. My fun, it's like blue cards. What? Oh no, I get it. We're effectively BOSHNROLL today. I think I like Thoughtseize here. So in an emergency, I can double Force of Will. I think if my opponent does something unfair, I cast Force of Will pitching Jace. So yeah and yeah. All right. We've chosen violence today. Get in there. Nice. All right, we have weathered the storm, and now we try to just count on the inevitability of my deck. I think I am going to Thoughtseize in case there is another show and tell instead of doing my more mana efficient line. All right. Well, that's not the zone that I want that card to be in. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's not true, right? Like it is legitimately an it depends. Fuck, that's so good. Notably, if I play out this Teferi and Archon hits play, my opponent can just nuke my Teferi, which is awkward. I might just be playing Teferi and immediately minusing. I am going to let this Teferi be dazable so that I can potentially draw maybe Wasteland doesn't matter. Maybe it does. Unsure. As a Force of Will pitching a show and tell, that was pretty good for us as far as an outcome goes. Then I will play that last card. My opponent's stock up gets very, very good value here. I, in theory, can do a 1-for-1 answer for an Archon of Cruelty at some point. Land drop. 5 mana. Fuck. The opponent has done a stock up and a Lorien revealed. I have not done any sort of card advantage thing of that nature. I've double Force of Willed. Okay, so let's... this is awkward, because I can Thoughtseize this turn, but if I do that, I can't Lorien revealed next turn. I probably need to Thoughtseize immediately. I think there's just too high of a chance that my opponent has something that goes off here. Well, I'm fucking wrong. I'll take the Brainstorm. And my opponent's hand is not strong from there. Again, though, singular top deck of a reanimation spell results in Archon of Cruelty. Fuck this card. Ah! Did I order my Brainstorm wrong? I gave myself the ability to shuffle with Lorien revealed, but it might have been correct to just make the land drop and then guarantee the draw 3. Unsure. I'm in bad shape. Last turn. I do not like the feel of this matchup. I am putting no pressure on my opponent's life total, which means that they have all the time in the world to cast these stock ups and Lorien revealeds. I don't have these like hyper efficient like spell pierce type cards that might 1-for-1 trade with them. We need the Chrome Mox? Are we casting a big dumb idiot? Are you about to cast a troll or something? 5? Oh god. Okay. Alright. That is an Atraxa. Okay, there's some spice. My opponent gets land, Yggdrasil, Brainstorm, Beseech, or Stock Up. My opponent was playing the Chrome Mox for the bargain cost here. Deck is sweet. Chrome Mox, Brainstorm, Stock Up. Sure. I'm dead to this in 2 hits. I think I am going to take the first hit to attempt to resolve Lorien revealed. I think I need more gas if I am going to win this game. I think a Force of Will is likely game winning. Yeah. I eat half of my life total here, and now I just get one random card off the top to try to stop Atraxa, plus whatever else happens this turn and next turn. Ugh. How many stock ups is that now? 1, 2. Okay, that is the 4th stock up. So my opponent cast 4 stock ups plus a Lorien revealed and got an Atraxa trigger. I realistically don't know how I am supposed to keep up with that. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This feels like it is going to be a horrendous matchup. Don't like Prismatic Ending. And now, like, how much do I want to fuck around with the reanimation type stuff? Consign to Memory has some text. I think I'm into at least Surgicals. I'm into Force of Negation. Baleful Strix seems less relevant. I think that's all I'm going to do. I don't really have enough mana with this hand. I am very good at stopping combos with 4 blue cards and 2 pitch counterspells. If I surveil land with this, I have a decent chance at hitting land drop 2, and then I can like try to brainstorm to hit it. I'm not excited here. More generally, I am just having trouble conceptualizing how I stop all of my opponent's combo pieces while also just dealing with Stock Up and Lorien Revealed. I don't think we're so far as hopeless, but it does not feel good. Okay, there is another land drop, in which case I don't think I am going to brainstorm. I think I am going to see the truth to find land drop 3. Yeah, that's great. If circumstances were slightly different, I like legitimately could keep a surgical extraction, counter a critical card and extract it, and then do the same thing with Snapcaster Surgical later on. Like, that might be a very, very, very long-term path to victory. I'm not the most excited about that. Yeah, you can do brainstorm type stuff. I don't think that is worth hardcasting a Force of Negation on. Now, that's an Ancient Tomb. That is worth hardcasting a Force of Negation on. Yeah. And now with a land, I could Snapcaster See the Truth. Nice. So blue and black. It's pitching a Stock Up. That's a relatively important card. I really don't want to get rid of my Force of Will, but I need to pressure my opponent's life total, and I very much would like to draw 3 cards. See the Truth. Cast See the Truth. Those are good cards if my opponent does not go off immediately, but like I could just eat Show and Tell, big dumb thing here, and I would be sad. Here's a Chrome Mox. Consigned to Memory, presumably for my Snapcaster Mages. Yeah, you get your card advantage too. Seems good. Ooh. I now have Snapcaster Force of Negation as a thing that I can do. I think I'm just going to ponder this turn. Counterspell's great. I think I'm going to hold up Counterspell. Do I want to fairy? Let's just clear that. I'm thinking about a Harbinger of the Seas from the other side of the battlefield. I think I'm going to pick up a basic Plains. Cast a Ponder. Am I fine with Force of Will? I think I'll take it. So my theoretical plan is Counterspell something, Snapcaster Counterspell something, and hardcast a Force of Will sometime. But in reality, it might be I Counterspell something and I have to Force of Will to back it up. And I just try to hit my opponent 6 more times with this Snapcaster Mage that's in play. Whatever it is big. It seems like Lorien Revealed. I just say no to that. Or at least try to. Cool. Pretty happy about that. Send it. Opponent's at 8. I think I'm just going to pass the turn here. I have Snapcaster, Force of Negation, as well as Force of Will available right now. Resolves. I think I lose Snapcaster Mage, but I still have 5 mana Force of Will available. Oh, I lost Force of Will instead. If I put in Snapcaster Mage, I can shut off Ancient Tomb while just like casting a Brainstorm here. And then I can actually use my mana to ponder for another threat. I think that's fine. So, yeah. Brainstorm. Okay, just consigning the trigger. That's fine. That was going to happen next turn anyway. Now it happened when I am still... I still have time to rebound with a ponder. So now let's try to find any counter spell. Valky? I'll take Valky. Alright, land drop. Cast Valky. Beseech the Mirror and Leyline of the Void. My opponent does not have black for Beseech the Mirror. They put Consign to Memory under that Chrome Mox, and then presumably drew Leyline of the Void afterwards. So this is just fully how lucky does my opponent get in this top deck? Not lucky enough. So my Snapcaster Mages are getting worse if my opponent is going to play Leyline of the Void against me. I could go down a Snapcaster to play another Baleful Strix as a different source of card advantage. It's also not crazy for me to try something like Harbinger of the Seas to keep my opponent off of the black of Beseech the Mirror. I haven't seen Reanimator type stuff yet. I could get rid of these Surgicals. Alright. Put a Strix back in. Do a Consign for my opponent's artifacts. Could do a Null Rod or a Pithing Needle. Could do a Harbinger of the Seas. I think I'm going to put one Harbinger of the Seas in the deck as something that just pitches to blue cards. These two Wastelands have been showing up in my opening hands a whole lot. But this one doesn't have the Lorien revealed to bail me out. This is a hand of Magic the Gathering cards. Harbinger of the Seas here as a pitch card to Force of Will, all according to the prophecy. Underground Sea and Ponder. Honestly, there is some question of whether or not Harbinger of the Seas is better than Snapcaster Mage here. Like, that is a very real question. Play this land and pass. I think I am looking at turn 2 Brainstorm, fetch basic plains. Island cycle's fine. Finding another Underground Sea, and it is another Ponder. And then passing the turn. I'm just going to pass with all of this mana available. I will Brainstorm in response to that to make my plan. Holy shit, that's a lot of land. I have like 3 black things in my deck. I think stock up is happening. I think I'm just putting 2 lands back. I'm in this really weird position where I have 0 relevant things for Snapcaster Mages, so those aren't particularly strong either. Yeah, maybe I put back 1 Snapcaster Mage, 1 land. This Chromox is actually really annoying for me. If a black card goes under that, it just totally changes whether or not Harbinger of the Seas is actually good. Long goodbye. Thoughtseize occurs. I've lost the Force of Will. Is not unexpected. That's going to get me a basic plains. Am I cycling Lorien revealed? I think no. First, second, or third turn. So this is not live yet. Fetch. Can be an Underground Sea. Blue 1. So my opponent now has 1 black source showing towards Beseech the Mirror. God damn it, that's in there too? Okay. That's rough. That's 1 card late. So, yeah. We will plot a Snapcaster Mage. I have made my land drop for the turn. I'm going to go ahead and just pass the turn. And I have Pitchcast Force of Negation if my opponent does something scary. I think my opponent's 1 ring is likely to bury me alive here. Like, they are at 17. Got so much life to work with. And I don't think this card is going to keep up with the 1 ring. This does not give me card advantage. It gives me either card selection with the top ability or the ability to cheat on mana with the middle ability. There's more Chromox. I don't get to fight over cards that look like that. The fear here is Sheoldred. Leyline of the Void is acceptable. Leyline of the Void is acceptable. I have drawn Counterspell. I guess let's do this. Go free. Target Brainstorm. Cast a Brainstorm. Could use Lorien Revealed as a shuffle to not redraw some of this stuff. And plot Brainstorm. And also just loot through a card here, which seems fine. We'll draw discard. Just nuke that Brainstorm. Play this land drop. Attack for 2. And I think I am working towards trying to copy a Lorien Revealed. Like, that's how I win. Just, like, draw 6 cards, and that kind of keeps up with the 1 ring. I think my opponent just has too much card advantage for me to keep up with on average. Which is honestly saying something. My opponent started tapping mana and then just didn't. Yeah, we hold. So let's do this looting thing. 1, 2, 3, Force of Negation. 1, 2, 3, Counterspell. Okay, cool. Yeah. See what happens on the attack. 9. Pass? I think I'm holding up the ability to hardcast both of these. Opponent is at 6. The life total is getting sketchy. So you're telling me there's a chance? Well, my opponent has 11 cards in hand right now. Like, some combination of Thoughtseize, Force of Will, Force of Negation stuff probably powers through my 2 counterspells here. Leyline Helm. Preferably no. Counterspell. Force of Will. Blue 1. Force of Negation. Is there yet another counterspell? Yep, so now my opponent activates Helm of Obedience, and with Leyline of the Void, that mills me out. Had lethal on board, tried our damnedest, but turns out when you're a combo deck with 11 cards in hand, it's pretty easy to win the game. GG's. Alright, opening hand is okay. I use Lorien Revealed on turn 1 to get a Tundra, then I can Baleful Strix on 2. We're hoping to be playing against something fair here. I don't really have the counterspell type stuff for if I am playing against something unfair. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now I have a counterspell. I'm fine passing the turn for now. We'll Prismatic Ending a Delver in a second. And I might have enough controlling elements here that I can simply wait out a daze on some of my important cards in this matchup. The Delver not flipping naturally was a boon. Alright, ignore what I said about daze. So now we'll pick up our Tundra. Yeah. Alright, no follow-up threat. That is great. So bam. Now that I don't have another land guaranteed, I'm just going to do this. You may brainstorm in response. I think if my opponent dazes here, I might need to Force of Will back with no guaranteed land drop as follow-up. I just like pitch the Teferi that I am very, very, very far away from casting. Whereas if I have a land, I just go like, okay, resolves. And there's no issue. Yeah, so I will junk the Teferi that I cannot cast for a while. Clear out the Delver. And then hopefully I just get to Brainstorm into my next land drop on my turn. If I Brainstorm lock myself, I probably just die. Ponder is fine. Ponder's actively good for me, in fact. Like, another threat not hitting the board to give me time to start deploying this bullshit is very, very, very good. We do need to figure out why my opponent is in white. Could be that they're playing something like Stifle Knot and they want Doorkeeper Thrall or something. Swords of Plowshares is a good draw. That is the sort of card I'm going to want for this matchup. I have Brainstorm locked myself, and I have multiple uncastable cards. This is exceptionally bad. I'm going to redraw Baleful Strix next turn. I'm not wastelanding my opponent. I'm going to use my mana to cast See the Truth next turn. Or alternatively, Swords to Plowshares around Daze. I would vastly prefer to See the Truth and try to find a new land drop here. Are we Murktiding? Leonin Arbiter. Alright, so we're in all sorts of weirdo territory over here. Why are we doing this? Like, are you a Wasteland and Ghost Quarter deck and you're being cheeky? Like, you are a fetch land deck, too. Alright. Sure. This is slightly awkward for me. Possible that I need to Force of Will that. Like, I've now tapped this Tundra. This Tundra could get Wastelanded before I Swords to Plowshares as Arbiter. Oh my god. No lands. Ponder for land. Tamiyo as a 0/3 blocker that accrues cards. Either one's probably acceptable. I go Ponder. I haven't given my opponent removal targets yet. That's exactly what I was just talking about. Why I was thinking so hard about Force of Willing this. I will take 2. 16. That one I will Force of Will. I need to be able to fetch. Oh, fuck, I should have pitched the Ponder so that if I draw any blue source, I can Ambush Viper that. Island from my opponent. I will take 2. My draws are not good. I'm going to repeatedly take 2 from this cat. I'm at 11. I mean, that's resolving. I literally cannot do anything about it. Thank you, deck. No Delver flip. I will go to 8. Yep. So I am just dead on board. That is not valid with Arbiter in play. So I can Force of Will Arbiter and delay getting Arbitered for another turn, but I just did not have any mana on top of my deck. I did not play Magic the Gathering there. I don't think I'm excited about Thoughtseize here. I'm not the most excited about Force of Will here. I don't really know that my sideboard cards are going to be the best in this matchup, though. Like, I'm not going to fuck around with the graveyard. I don't think I'm fucking around with any of this stuff. No on that. Yeah, like, I'll play a Wrath of the Skies as another thing that can clear out my opponent's dorks, and I guess a Thoughtseize, but I am not excited about how my sideboard options line up here. In good news, though, assuming that I actually play Magic the Gathering, my pile of swords and Snapcasters and Strix and Tamiyos will probably be fine. I'm going to take that one as an outlier. I have a hand of Magic the Gathering cards. I have Wasteland and Leonin Arbiter to be thinking about separately here. Wow. That is an immediate Force of Will on a Tamiyo. You've got it. Tundra, Delver of Secrets. That's fine. I think I'm just going to brainstorm and fetch here. This is pretty good. I think I'm going to get rid of Valky. Maybe get rid of a See the Truth for being expensive right now. I think I'm just going to fetch around a Stifle Effect. I don't know why my opponent is playing Leonin Arbiter yet. And the answer might just be that they are memeing, and it's like all sorts of Stifle, Ghost Quarter, Land Denial type stuff. Delver didn't flip, which is cool. I will happily just take one here. There's some tension between wanting to have all basics so I don't get wastelanded, and wanting to leave a basic in deck for Ghost Quarter, and wanting to have white for Wrath of the Skies. We'll see where that all shakes out in a minute. That is a Leonin Arbiter, which is fine. That resolves. I will address that around days on my own turn. Yeah, I will address that around days, which now means that I can address Delver around days if I get a Tundra. Yeah. And if you want to daze my Ponder, I would accept that. These cards are fine. Yeah. No shuffle. And now that I just have 4 mana, or 3 in play, a future Leonin Arbiter is not very scary anymore. A little better than a vanilla 2/2. The last game it was just annoying because I just had no starting resources. There's a fetch land to clear that Brainstorm, and a new Leonin Arbiter. So, like I said, that is not particularly scary anymore. I can just pay that tax. I can also just Snapcaster Swords it. I think I'm going to give my opponent a chance to play another card before I Wrath of the Skies. I've ignored this. I think I just fetch a basic Swamp in respect of Baleful Strix later in the game. I don't care if this trades with Daze, because if this gets countered, I can just Snapcaster it back in a minute. Jace Reawakened. I mean, it does stuff with Snapcaster Mage. Ponder might just be better right now. Wasteland is fine. Would you like to pay 2 to use your Wasteland? Or no, sorry, that was not, I was thinking of, the Angel Stompy card. Suppression Field. I'm going to do a mid-combat Snapcaster Mage. Delver Trigger. Force of Will. That's fine. My life total is high enough that I think this is a fine exchange. Target Swords. I guess I will go to blocks immediately. Get that block in before we go any further. And then Swords Delver. So we can deduce that my opponent does not have a blue card in hand to pair with that Force of Will based on that. Yeah. That was a disaster for my opponent. So, I just want to look for my next land drop with this Ponder. Those are fine cards that I cannot use immediately. They are not the land that I want. I want white and blue. I think I'm just okay with it, though. My opponent can then surveil. They like their card. You may ponder. We know they have Force of Will, which probably isn't great here. I don't know, ballpark, there's a third of a chance that Force of Will is currently active. I think if Force of Will is maybe active, I just play a Tamiyo here. If Tamiyo gets Force of Willed, I have another. Tamiyo doesn't get Force of Willed, cool, I start doing clue shit. So I think despite the fact that there's some short-term awkwardness here, this is perfectly fine. I am doing the blue mage thing that I would like to be doing. Opponent could Force of Will this. I have 4 cards in hand plus clues. Does not feel great for my opponent. Game's not over, but I feel like the advantage needle is ticking further and further towards me at this point. I don't know if you heard that, but that bird cry was wild. Sounded like a siren. Bowmasters is good. You can ping my Strix. I'll wait to play Swords to Plowshares around days. I have the luxury of time here. Jace Reawakened. Sure. Yeah. There is a Force of Will pitching a Flusterstorm. Attack for 0. Get that clue. And I will probably just crack this clue at my opponent's end step and just take 1 damage from Bowmasters for that. I don't think I need to immediately crack it and give my opponent an extra damage in combat. I don't think I'm going to waste Snapcaster Mage on it either. At least not immediately. They just have like Wrath of the Skies that can cleanly clear it out, as well as the Token Friend. I'm at 11. So, do the Tameo thing. Post-combat. Prismatic Ending. Yeah. And yeah. Attempt to junk Bowmasters. Counter unless I pay 3. Is that worth my counterspell? That might be worth my counterspell. My opponent's got 1 card left. Alright, Bowmaster is gone. I have great resources left at this point. I have Snapcaster Swords to Plowshares for if my opponent drops something big like a Murktide Regent. Otherwise, I think I'm just good. Oh, Teferi's very strong here. Let's fire that off pre-combat. Yeah. We are forcing a game 3 here. I still don't really know why my opponent is playing Leonin Arbiter. Like, I haven't seen anything in deck building that is like, hey, this is the payoff for choosing to play this creature. I have seen Mystical Disputes and Flusterstorms from my opponent in terms of additional interaction. But I don't know that anything matters here. Like, I get the extra Thoughtseize back into the deck, but This does not play Magic a decent portion of the time. I don't really know that I want to keep this, despite the fact that I have like 2 lands plus removal. The Wasteland is a really big downside here. Let's assume that this works out. I have to very aggressively go after a second land drop, preferably one that does not eat it to Leonin Arbiter. If I lose this game, I lose it very quickly to some sort of Wasteland effect, because I just don't get mana. I mean, I'm keeping that stuff. That is exactly the sort of stuff that I do want. But a Leonin Arbiter could get me here, because I simply do not have mana. Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce is fine. I can trade spells for days. Well, I mean, for 7 Delver hits, more accurately. Delta. That's short-term scary. I have a Wrath of the Skies. If I can get that Spell Pierce out of my opponent's hand, we can talk. So I need to do something that looks sexy to Spell Pierce. Fuck, it was not sexy enough. Brainstorm, why weren't you sexy? So we will go like bam and bam? Maybe just the more expensive card. We're going to try again to cast a spell that is relevant. And since I need white so badly, I might grab yet another Plains. No, then I can't Ponder. So, okay. It does have to be Underground Sea since this other Tundra is in hand. So I will Ponder. Absolutely not. We hit a Flooded Strand anyway. Alright, so does this Delver also blind flip? Fuck. Life's bad. This kills me in 2 turns. Why? Alright. I'm basically dead. Wrath of the Skies is the way that I win. That for X equals 1 clears all 3 of these. I think I need to Brainstorm or Ponder into a removal spell and get that countered. Preferably Brainstorm into multiple removal spells, like I fire off 2 Swords to Plowshares here. So, Wrath of the Skies with Force of Will backup, and I use Snapcaster Mage as Ambush Viper on this to not take bonus damage from it. Am I fetching? The individual point of life matters a lot right now. I'm going to say no. Yeah, the difference between 9 and 10 is just really big. So, the hope is my opponent dumps mana into this. Right, they did not. So let's see if we can bait a counter spell, which is something we are still trying to do. We'll target something in the graveyard. It doesn't really matter what. Okay. Swords is fine. I do not believe that I can beat Spell Pierce plus Force of Will, though. Like, I know what I'm drawing. So my out is another Force of Will. Wrath of the Skies for 3 mana. Force of Will beats Spell Pierce. Turn Ponder into Force of Will. Or alternatively, my opponent has a Stifle, stifles this fetch land, and then I only have to beat Force of Will. Okay, we'll grab Underground Sea. I have 4 looks for the next Force of Will. Do not have enough mana for Thoughtseize to be an out here. Already made my land drop. So 1 random look at Force of Will, that is not Force of Will. So I believe that I am now dead, but let's see if I'm wrong. Spell Pierce, Force of Will, Pitch Lorien revealed, and then your Force of Will happens. I am dead on board. What the fuck? Oh, sorry, there's just a different other counterspell also protecting all of this stuff. Alright, well, we just lost to Student of Warfare in Legacy. Alright, I have a very reasonable hand here. I think I am going to lead this game on double basics despite having Jace Reawakened in hand here. And we're going to drop a Tamiyo. I'm starting to put together about some thoughts on this deck overall. But I think I'm going to just save that for the end of the league here. We'll get our clue. I don't exactly know what I am digging for with Tamiyo yet. So I don't think I am going to see the truth. I think I am just going to pass the turn intending to crack a clue token. We've got a basic island and a brainstorm. That's fine, that's happening. I think if I cast See the Truth, I'm just looking for something generic like Force of Will. But it's a little hard to tell as of right now. Scalding Tarn could very easily not actually be a representation of the colors in my opponent's deck, and instead just be a random blue fetch land. Let's just take our clue draw. Notably, See the Truth does not draw a card for the purposes of our friend Tamiyo here. Jace Reawakened is castable next turn. I think I'm good with casting a Ponder. Nope. Snapcaster Mage incentivizes me to cast See the Truth earlier, but Jace incentivizes me to keep that in hand. So I think I'm just cracking a clue again. I could also just cycle Lorien Revealed. Terminus. Okay, so we are in a control mirror. Would I Force of Will to protect a Tamiyo? Maybe. I think this can be an Underground Sea. Yeah. We could use to brainstorm at some point. Okay, never mind. So Swords to Plowshares immediately solid here. Although my opponent having a brainstorm would be awkward for me. Okay, cool. No brainstorm. I have not played a land drop yet. So let us cycle a Lorien Revealed. I'll pick up a Tundra. I'll play a Tundra. I'll play a Planeswalker. Force of Will pitching a Force of Will. That is fine. We have See the Truth, Snapcaster See the Truth in the not too distant future. I have some answers to my opponent's permanents that they could put into play. Ooh, I mean, yeah. I am into that. So let's plot a card. I will plot a See the Truth. I will then cast a different See the Truth. Do I want another Jace for if this one eats a prismatic ending? I think I just want a Ponder to be flexible. What am I afraid of? Probably my opponent being Jeskai and having something like 4th Aerlingas. I would like to find maybe actual factual counterspell. Sure. A lone Snapcaster does not kill Jace Reawakened for a little while, so this is not too bad. I don't have a sweeper in my deck, though, so if my opponent is playing something like 4th Aerlingas or Entreat the Angels that goes wide of individual removal spells, like, that's definitely a bit sketch. Alright, so opponent just putting a Force of Will on top. That seems reasonable. What did we just talk about? What did we just talk about? So now my opponent is going to be the Monarch, and I also lose my source of card advantage while they keep theirs. This is very bad. That Force of Will is literally 1 card too late. So, we're going to cast this. My opponent is going to Force of Will. Maybe now they're thinking about it. Okay, there it is. Pitching main deck Consigned to Memory. So I'm now going to Force of Will back, pitching a Ponder. This is a draw 3. So, let's nuke a token. And then I think just set up for the future. Target See the Truth. Hitting some lag. Casting See the Truth. So now I have good tools.
This is a sorcery, so I have to do this at sorcery speed, so there's a decent chance that my opponent can remove my Snapcaster so that I can't take the Monarch from them. If they don't remove it, I can maybe set up Teferi into Swords to Plowshares, become the Monarch. Otherwise, I have to start spinning my wheels and looking for a Baleful Strix or a Snapcaster Mage. Right, there's a land drop. Opponent has 2 cards to my 6 cards, but okay, so we are going defensive mode. So 1, 2, 3. If this resolves, this shuts off counterspells, and I will usually become the Monarch. Flame of Honor. I think I need to counterspell that. I think that's too much value here. So my dream is untapped White Source. Junk that token. We did not hit untapped White Source, so I don't get to Swords and become the Monarch. Say no to that. I need to keep my Snapcaster in play so that I can become the Monarch. But if I don't make this trade here, sometimes my opponent removes my Snapcaster and then kills my Teferi, and then their counterspells are back online. That's maybe less important if I just have a Snapcaster that can pressure it afterwards. But I'd prefer not to give my opponent multiple turns of Monarch draw, if at all possible. No. So there's a downside of not doing that. It was not clear at the time whether or not they had a second Mystic Sanctuary. That's rough. Now my opponent removed my creature, got their draw 2. Is going to get that Monarch draw. My Teferi is offline. This is not lining up super well for me. It is also not clear to me whether Flame of Honor is better than just doing 4th Airlingas again. End of combat play. Nope, misclick. So land drop. Alright, we're doing that. That's not great. I probably start by just taking that out of play before my opponent has any time to set it up. I think I'm going to overpay by 1. I don't know, 3 hits Flame of Honor, 2 hits, 4th Airlingas. Do it something like weird, like for 4 mana. I don't know, I have a lot to do with my mana. Maybe I don't overpay. All right, X equals 2, X equals 1, 2 total mana, counterbalance trigger. Entreat the Angels is on top. Okay. The fuck am I doing about that? Dying? I think dying. I need to find a counterspell now. 4 looks with Ponder as a starting point. Let's just shuffle there. Okay, there is a counterspell. Pitch Brainstorm. I think I'm going to Snapcaster Swords to Plowshares, Snapcaster in an attempt to take Monarch. But I might need to hold Brainstorm instead of Ponder. Yeah. So that if my opponent forces, I have at least the opportunity to Brainstorm and try to find another Force of Will or actual factual counterspell. I don't love that. All right. Force of Will, Pitch Ponder. Okay, it resolved. That's good. I'm just going to take the hit here. The life is not as relevant, I think, as just waiting as long as possible on the Snapcaster Mage. But I think with Monarch draw on the stack, I now Snapcaster Swords. My opponent held up 2 mana intentionally and didn't bump it into Entreat the Angels. It feels like some sort of counterspell is in my future. It could be that they had a land drop and Force of Negation was what my opponent has. So we do that. And I still have another Swords to Plowshares for if my opponent tries to block my Snapcaster. There's not white mana available right now. I can't eat a Swords to Plowshares specifically. Eat Flame of Honor. Oh shit, that's a very, 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 very good draw. Super happy with that. Send it. I am the pretty princess. Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I think I will just pass and take the draw rather than Brainstorm here. That is a Snapcaster Mage. That is a no-value Snapcaster Mage, though. Yeah, that is a no-value Snapcaster Mage, so I just let that resolve and I Swords it. Get out of there. Now I take my Monarch draw. Excellent. So by not playing Brainstorm, I had that Swords plus Force of Will backing it up. Brain Surge. Yeah, you got it. Like, it's obviously a fine card, but
the game is currently about this. You may surveil. You may ponder. That is probably fine. I think I will address that on my own turn. So let's swords that. No brainstorm in response, which is great. Send in for 2. Opponent is at 12. Cast a Snapcaster Mage. Target See the Truth. Cast See the Truth. Still have Force of Will available. Fantastic. Now we take our Monarch draw. Life is good. Yeah, these long settled in games are what we want to be doing. Yeah, you can draw 2 cards. Yeah. Honestly, fair. So that was game 1, right? We both used a lot of clock there. So I respect that concession there. Like the game is not over. My opponent has 7 cards in hand, but I like on my turn I will have 7 cards in hand, an 8th from the Monarch. I am dealing 4 damage at a time. And like I'm probably clearly letting their draw 2s resolve, like with the Brain Surge and the Flame of Honor, so I'm not concerned. I'm just trying to stop specific things. That game was just fully about that Monarch. So no, probably no, maybe, probably no, no, no. Like can technically help with counterbalance and tokens. I am not hyper excited about Thoughtseize here. I will probably turn that into something else. Valky on the Tybalt Cosmic Imposter side is reasonable. Valky on the front creature side attack from 2 is less reasonable. I'm going to drag that off to the side as something that I'll think about cutting. If I had Pyroblasts in the sideboard, I would probably be thinking about junking Force of Wills. I can also junk some number of Swords to Plowshares, but they matter a little bit more here because my opponent is doing this Flame of Honor stuff, so taking their Snapcaster Mage or other wizards out of play results in them getting less value out of their cards. Let's assume that it's not worth it to try to bust up Mystic Sanctuary. I do these 2. I want to play these 2 for their Red Elemental Blasts as well as their 4th Airlingas. I think that means that you get cut and I trim a Swords to Plowshares. Although it's possible I'd junk 1 more Swords and keep the Valky for the Jace Reawakened synergy in the very, very late game. I'm gonna keep 1 more Swords to Plowshares than I probably should. In respect of Flame of Honor. Yeah, my hand is a reasonable start. And my opponent's just passing the turn here. I will get Tamiyo going. I'll have to think about whether or not I am willing to Force of Will to back this up. I think I am. We've got a Tamiyo in play. This play looks pretty bad if my opponent just like evenly trades with a Prismatic Ending or something like that here. But if I get a couple of turns worth of clues out of this Tamiyo, it's pretty huge. Okay, not what I want to see. I think I'm going to do a risky play here. I think I'm going to wasteland my opponent's blue source. Their other land is Plateau. Plateau does not cast cantrips. So there's some portion of the time where I just knocked my opponent off of cantrips. Not this time. I'm going to wait to get deeper with this brainstorm before I cast it. Uh-oh. Yeah and yeah. Gamble did not pay off. I might lose this game pretty quickly. It's a little hard to say this early. Like, I miss a scroll rack. All right, that is a way to get your miracles out of your hand if they get stuck there. If my opponent is not pressuring my life total, then missing the land drops is not the end of the world. I would counter this if I were the opponent and I had the ability to. Boy, I hate this. Hate this a lot. None of those cards are lands. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And this is why you want to be Jeskai in the mirror, right? Like, these red elemental blasts are very, very good against Force of Will and a huge portion of my win conditions and effective win conditions. Okay, they're just taking the raw draw too. That's fine. I mean, it's very good. Tamiyo Brainstorm. I'm gonna, I don't know. Maybe I do just do this. Who needs lands? The upside of like next turn, Tamiyo, attack, get clue, opponent tries to remove it, brainstorm in response is pretty high. I think I'm okay trying to high roll. I think I'm trying to high roll either one of, like, either way. Yeah, Reb absolutely fucking my shit up. Okay, Prismatic Ending this time, but, you know, same overall effect. So Tamiyo gets exiled. Hey, it's a Delta. Let's start with a Brainstorm. Give my opponent a chance to Reb something. Okay, I don't know that I'm in a game where I get to Force of Will right now. I think I'm just going to hope that the worst does not happen. Fetch. I have some blue things that I might need to cast. I think I'm just going to pick up Tundra and remove the Snapcaster body now before multiple modes on Flame of Honor is live. So the fear here is that my opponent casts some sort of fourth Aerlingas or Entreat the Angels right now when I don't have the Force of Will available that I threw away. But I don't really want the Force of Will. The Force of Will is something that I sometimes need. But I think right now, after stumbling, I'm trying to keep selection for whatever my opponent does find and keep Snapcaster for See the Truths as like, this is my way forward. And I need land drop 4 to make Snapcaster See the Truths live. So let's start here. Tamiyo. Sure. Bench. I have 1 white card. I have 2 black cards. That answers that. But my opponent has like 5 cards. I don't know that Tamiyo is reliable here. But any red elemental blast effect that Tamiyo eats is one that maybe Snapcaster See the Truths does not get hit by. Ooh, sure. So my opponent is trying to clear the way, presumably, for a big spell, such as Fourth Aerlingas or Entreat the Angels. I mean, in the context of this specific game, then not having the Force of Will in hand was very, very good. That was a long pause in the draw step. My opponent might have like a Terminus or Entreat the Angels in hand. Actual factual Jace the Mind Sculptor. And I don't have things like Red Elemental Blast to help out with that. And I don't have Prismatic Ending X equals 4. That's not great. Mystic Sanctuary. Putting a Reb on top. But my opponent does not have Reb mana available immediately. I can Snapcaster See the Truths, or I can attempt Tamiyo Snapcaster Brainstorm. Depends, like, is this actual factual counterspell? I guess let's find out. It is Force of Will pitching Counterbalance. Sure. I will redeploy Tamiyo. My Swords to Plowshares is not great here. I think the most likely thing that I am now doing is grinding time off of my opponent's clock. I think there is a very good chance that I am dead to this Jace. My opponent's deck, I think, is better suited for this pseudo mirror than mine is. Yes. End of turn. I think I am going to Surveil over removing Tamiyo on their turn. I mean, I'll take my own Planeswalker. So, attempt to Swords Tamiyo. Play a Jace. But this Planeswalker is much worse than my opponent's Jace. We'll just loot a card into my graveyard for later for Snapcaster Mage purposes. We got a Wasteland hanging out in there. That's not doing anything. Now, my opponent likely just buries me with Jace. Yeah, so the Pyroblast just you get rid of Planeswalkers? Artifact, creature, enchantment. No. So Jace is going to do Jace stuff. Multiple turns of unchecked Jace the Mind Sculptor. Very much going to leave me dead. Again, we're probably playing towards a game 3 timeout as our most realistic match win condition. Strix draws a card. I'm going to wait a turn on this Brainstorm. You may Brainstorm. Oh, hold on. I can't yield to this turn anymore. I have to see if I can Force of Will this Entreat the Angels. We'll let my opponent pump the mana into it first. So, I need my 2 unknown cards below the Swords to Plowshares to be bangers, not bangers. So we're going to go bam bam. This resolves. I block with a Baleful Strix and then try to Wrath of the Skies it all away and hope my opponent does not have a counterspell. And if we clear the Angel tokens, then there's just the Jace the Mind Sculptor to worry about. NBD. That's a Swords, so I take 16. Uh-oh. 16 happens to be exactly my life total. Not great here. Just strategically speaking, folks, don't do what my opponent just did. Like, now they have told me, hey, I am playing multiple surgical extractions in this matchup. Like, that's not a singleton surgical extraction. That is a major portion of their plan. Don't do that. I might need to Pithing Needle for Jace the Mind Sculptor specifically. It's just very, very, very difficult for me to answer that card if it physically hits play. The Pithing Needle runs into Wrath of the Skies, which is awkward, but I think that's an it is what it is situation. So I think I'm going to make that change. Hands medium. I'm going to keep it. I can start out on a Surveil land, try to get some food in the graveyard for Snapcaster Mage. I'll just make this land drop and pass the turn. Opponent's got basic planes. I will Surveil land. The Truth is great. That is exactly the Snapcaster Mage food that I wanted to find. So let's go ahead and cast that. I'm going to pick up a Hydroblast here. I think that card is very important long term, even though Brainstorm is much better short term. Not even close. But like stopping my opponent from becoming the Monarch, for example, is very important. Your Ponder is fine. Oh, I'm just going to make a land drop and pass the turn here. Next turn, if I feel comfortable tapping out, I can Snapcaster See the Truths. That's fine. I might Brainstorm at my opponent's end step. They don't do anything else. Yeah, I am not in love with these cards. So despite the fact that I kind of like the idea, get a basic island to just leave for a white fetch land. I don't remember if I have a white fetch land. I was formulating half of a thought here. I forget what that thought was exactly. Let's see if my opponent has Surgical Extraction. They have Force of Will, which is fine. I will try again next turn. And next turn I can have Hydroblast backing it up so that a Pyroblast doesn't fuck with me. My opponent is falling behind on clock in a way that is not great for them. They are also now missing land drops, in which case this becomes better. I'm going to Wasteland my opponent off of Hardcast Force of Negation. Your Brain Surge is happening. I guess I could have cast my Snapcaster in response. It was a mistake on my end. I am now trying to play quickly. Like, I am ahead on time, but, you know, it's relevant. All right, target See the Truths. See the Truth, singular. All right, there is Surgical Extraction, but my opponent just missed a land drop and maybe Brainstorm locked themselves and is below 5 minutes of clock. Scroll Rack is happening. I can Prismatic Ending that. That's fine. So take out Scroll Rack. Cool. Hit for 2. 15. And pass. And now we're just chilling where I am attacking with Snapcaster Mage and my opponent is missing land drops. This is okay for me. I don't have a Mystic Sanctuary to go and get back my Lorien Revealed. Big difference between our decks conceptually in terms of deck building here. Absolutely. Like, this is my win condition. Your life total is not irrelevant, but I am very much not planning on killing you. I'll hold that land. That one I might Brainstorm back. Alright, there's third land drop. I'll Wasteland you in your upkeep. Yeah. There's a Plateau. I think with Force of Will here, I will now make that extra land drop, because now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus Hydroblast while leaving a fetch in play. Okay. Opponent is not presenting a win condition. I don't think I want to be the first one to make a move here. I think this results in me tapping out of Hardcast Force of Will and causes me to just go down a card that I don't need to go down. I would rather Force of Will with Hydroblast available and then to Fairy afterwards. Alright. Opponent did not shuffle. Snapcaster Brainstorm is a thing. Snapcaster Lorien Revealed is a thing. I'm just going to pass the turn. Like, again, this is my win condition. I don't need to move. Like, my opponent is currently set to discard this turn if they don't do something reasonable. That can resolve, and I can try to Prismatic Ending that, and then we can fight over it later. So, attempt 1 mana, answer that. I guess I can Teferi Time Raveler first. That's better than what I just did. Yeah, I'm just going to let that resolve. And then Teferi Time Raveler. It is much better to do it the other way, but here we are. So, now I do this. And I can fight over this twice. There's Pyroblast. There's Hydroblast. There's Force of Will. There's Force of Will. So now my stuff is going to resolve, and I will just Snapcaster Prismatic ending this in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and plus that. I could have fought harder over this Tamiyo by like swordsing it, which was maybe correct. But Tamiyo does not attack me, and if I just have Snapcaster Prismatic ending, I'm just like good. Ooh, but I don't anymore. Well, I do, but not without other costs. Sure. A Reb is now pretty good. So yeah. Yep. I'll hold this. That is a literal miracle to entreat. That's a disaster. Yes. That's the sort of thing that can bail my opponent out of this situation, and then they can Tamiyo it back. I'm going to see if I randomly draw Wrath of the Skies before I swords one of these. I did not. I will swords one token. Pass. Fourth Airling goes as well. Not great. So I will counter that. Tamiyo pluses. I'm not sure that that's better than Tamiyo minus on fourth Airlingas. But I think both modes have a decent chance at killing me. So now I think my opponent gets in there 2 attack steps before they time out, unfortunately. I think the Tamiyo ultimate is close to irrelevant. I think this first card just kills me. Actual factual miracle. Getting the job done here. Now this is likely backed by a counter spell as well. Nope, that's just a bunch of land. Yeah, I think my opponent needed that miracle to win the game, because I don't think the Tamiyo wins the game in 30 seconds. GG's. All right. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Despite my negative record here, I think the deck building is very good. However, I think the metagame is hostile to control right now. And this is probably time for a good old like MTG Goldfish refresher. So control is currently, as of when I'm recording this on March 1st, 16% of the metagame, which is incredibly small. Like that is so small. Like clearly an indicator that the format is perhaps not healthy. And trying to be this deck that wins by attacking for 1 or attacking for 2 at a time is perhaps not where you want to be. You know, get your opponent dead with a Goyf or a Murktide Regent or some other large effect or some A+B combo like Entomb plus Reanimate. Legacy is relatively low to the ground right now. So when your win condition air quotes, literally can't be played in the first 3 turns no matter what you do, that is maybe something you do not want to be doing in this current format. I think Snapcaster Mage plus See the Truth is very, very strong. We did not line up Jace Reawakened plus See the Truth nearly as much, but, you know, that same synergy exists there. I think if I were to mess around with this more, I would consider red as my 3rd color so that I have Pyroblasts for all of the blue mirrors that are happening. The Thoughtseizes are conceptually fine versus combo. The Valky is cool. The Baleful Strix are cool. I don't think any of the black cards that are in the deck are bad. I personally might like Pyroblasts more. The Wastelands punished us a couple of times in openers, and we tried to salvage with Lorien Revealed, and we did in some of those games, and we didn't in others. Urza's Saga is kind of a big deal. Ancient Tomb is kind of a big deal. Eldrazi lands are kind of a big deal, so I understand wanting to have a couple in the deck. I really like the deck building here, despite the fact that this league didn't go well for me. There are a number of times in this league where, you know, if things break a little bit better for me in terms of luck, that I pick up another match win, especially in that last one there. Or if, you know, I make a better mulligan decision, or maybe a better, you know, 3rd card down on Ponder decision, maybe things go a little bit smoother for me. but I don't think the positioning of this deck right now in this exact metagame is all that great. But I love this deck, and Brian/Edison, like, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to play this. So remember, folks, please consider checking out Brian's channel, BOSHNROLL, if you want to see Brian playing Lumra Living Wish lands, and we'll see how my deck building did in regards to this challenge. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and should you need any cards, such as Jace Reawakened, you know where to go. Use promo code ThrabenU to save yourself a bit, and let TOA know that they should keep supporting my content. Alright, have a great rest of the day. See ya!